I did this in like 2005 or something. Let me see what the timestamps are. 2006 or something. Like before I really kind of like when I was kind of just discovering 3D and sort of building shapes, like
Hey, what's up, Compton?
Yo, what's up? Just hanging out.
Just living the dream, hanging out with
Just living
Laura
the
Gallagher.
dream. Yeah. Just hanging out with fellow character artists late at night. Or whatever time it is.
I was really sort of having some fun just sort of exploring just modeling like ships and like other stuff, and I don't really do any of that now, but I had like a lot of fun back then, just sort of also kind of being in like 3ds Max and kind of figuring out like all of the mechanics of stuff, like, and especially like how to use the software itself to like say like, okay, this is like a door that can sort of slide like that, and like put like a limiter on this so that you can only open the door so much.
Absolutely, form follows function, right? This is really cool.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, so this here, you take this, if you rotate it, see the whole thing like actually
Oh,
rotates like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
I was just like having some fun with that, like trying to really build everything so that you just more or less could like control the different things with like only one thing. I don't know how this still worked there. I had like some pistons, like some
That's
very
really
basic stuff,
fun.
but still.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And yeah, like that was just like sort of kind of fun stuff I did like sort of back then. I think you can bring this down somewhere. Probably this here. Slide all this down and sort of close the doors.
Oh, and
Like
then it like deploys.
yeah, just
Yeah.
I don't know, just weird stuff like that. And so like I had a lot of fun with this, but like yeah, like that was really a different time, because like I was really like sort of careful, meticulous, like spend a lot of time on this thing. How do I even hide this now?
Oh,
I don't
that
even remember.
freaking engine. Or it looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just had like so much fun to like build stuff like this. I have a few
Yeah.
renders around my computer there, like rendered all this with like V-Ray and stuff.
yeah. No, that looks killer. But you did hit the keyword V-Ray. For presentation, what would you recommend? Like something like V-Ray or something more real time, like Unreal? Is there even a preference?
Like I think Unreal is good because it'll teach you things that are more practical on your day to day. So I think I would privilege Unreal because of the contribution it's going to do to just simply becoming better at your craft right now, which is something that I know that you want to do. Um, but ultimately, I don't think it matters too much, like because when we look at people's portfolios, we're like always looking for like stuff that's interesting, stuff that's cool, people that are creative, people who know how to use like tools in creative ways, in ways that we haven't really thought about, and that could be useful to like a team there. Um, so it doesn't really often come down to what engine or what render have you used to render out your pictures. It's like ultimately that's a minor thing, really. So V-Ray is super cool. It's a lot of fun, but V-Ray is more for the people who like to be methodical about things, and for people who are like little engineers and like to sort of decipher like how things work, and kind of find pleasure in like doing multiple renders in a row and sort of always seeing it sort of improve itself, and then like you sort of tweak a setting because there's there's a lot of pleasure in that kind of thing, like I can show you guys like something else here that I had started. Um, Also never completed, but hey, that's what we're talking about right now. So, um,
Hey.
And were you working as a pro while you were doing this hard surface stuff, or is this more
oh no, like
prior?
that was like before school, essentially.
Oh my god, this is what you were doing in what?
Oh, that's cool.
It's still awesome now. Yeah, it holds up.
Like, I went to school at some point, and they were like, "Well, we can teach you. Like, if you want to be here, it's fine. But like, you could actually get a job like somewhere if you wanted to." And
Wow.
and my reaction to that was like, no, I want to go to school. And they're like, okay, welcome aboard. That's how my interview went.
Yeah, I picked up you said this was before school, and I was like, did I hear her incorrectly?
Yeah, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I remember Minecraft one that I made before school. Oh my god.
Here's something else that's before school. So this was speaking of Warhammer, which I really liked back then.
Oh yeah.
At some point I started making like one of the tanks.
Yo.
Wait, I don't want to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's this whole thing here. Let me turbo smooth that a little bit. So like I was having some fun with this. I had way too much time on my hands.
Um, I bet you're tired of these kind of questions, but like, how long did something like this take? You said you had a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was also learning 3D at the same time, so these were like research projects too to sort of teach myself like 3D and sort of learn the tools. You know, like I would be looking at something like, well, okay, I've never made a thread before, so how do I make a thread that like is like fits with a very specific radius and path? Like how do I make a track like this, right? And make sure that all of these things they all slot in like properly, you know? Like that was really important for me back then. Like right now I would just not care because you don't see the ones that are there, you know? Like I would just save myself like the trouble there trying to make it work. But back then it was like really important for me. Oh no, okay, I guess I did the same thing there, but I guess the thing that was important for me just to make sure that they all sort of slotted in at the proper sort of places and
Yeah.
you know, that it looked really, really clean, yeah.
Yep. I
Um,
hear what you're saying.
and I think I had in fact figured out how to make it go all the way, but then I did at the end delete what was in there because you wouldn't really see it. And it was taking up resources, you know, like computers back then were not as good as they are now. But yeah, like I remember spending a lot of time on this. So like it's hard to say time-wise how much time it took. I mean, it took like months, but just months of me just pretty much doing nothing else but this, you know. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun, you know. Like I sort of even made like a little thing like this here, just to, yeah. So that was quite a lot of fun. Yeah, so that took a while. Yeah, oh, actually, okay. It's like the parent like this, right? Oh yeah, here we go. Rotate the whole thing. So I had quite a lot of fun with this. Yeah, I mean, it just took months and months and months, but like I was so passionate about this that for me, it really wasn't really hard. You know, like it didn't really feel like work. Like I was really enjoying like learning like the tools of like, oh my God, now I can actually sort of make a 3D model. Like for me, it just like the very concept of 3D that computers could actually do that and that I could do that myself, you know, was just so incredibly high that I really didn't need anything else, you know. It's like this is the only thing I wanted to do. This and play World of Warcraft, of course. Like those were the few things that I did for like a while there. While I was like, I don't know, like maybe 18, 20 years old, maybe. Yeah. So we were actually talking about V-Ray. Actually, I remember. So here's the project I want to show you guys. I started doing a bit of like a cityscape kind of project there because I kind of also wanted to learn V-Ray and I wanted to learn. I mean, I kind of knew V-Ray before because I had used it on a lot of projects before, but I kind of wanted to. There's this kind of saying that I really like, which is. We crave to solve the problem we've never solved before, you know? And that was like really, really true, you know, because like I had used V-Ray to do like a bunch of stuff before, but then I was like, no, I want to do some, like, I want to learn how V-Ray works in the context of like an environment render and these sorts of things, you know? So I started like sort of exploring that, you know, just having a bit of fun with this. Like, I never finished it. I wanted to like eventually put some characters in there and stuff, but I didn't wind up finishing that. I never really like part of the problem with this was that I never really knew what I really wanted to do with the scene itself. I just knew I wanted to make like an environment of some kind, and I really liked like I was really inspired by like Parisian streets. And I really wanted to just capture the kind of like that nice golden glow kind of mood that I really like, that sort of black and gold, that like turns out is really the heart of Deus Ex, but it's something that I mean, I did not even know that there was such a term as that, while I was actually looking at these things. But I was really like attracted by these kind of black and gold sort of nighttime shots of like Paris and stuff, and there was something about those shots, those kind of also kind of a bit maybe cloudy, rainy shots a little bit that I just really sort of there was something about this. I really kind of saw myself there, but at the same time, it always felt like a very exotic place. Um, that I was really inspired to make something like that. I think this was the main reference. This is kind of where it all started. The concept of like having a curved road and having just those sort of buildings on the side with those sort of neon signs and like stuff like that. I sort of just went on from there and started making buildings left and right and sort of crafting stuff. But I never really figured out what I wanted to do with this beyond that. And that's something that always bothered me, while I was kind of working on this, I was kind of working on this because I liked it, first of all, but also at the same time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it beyond making just a nighttime sort of like a nighttime Paris shot. Like it wasn't ever really clear what I wanted to do there. And like I tried like different positions of like actors in the scene to sort of try and be like, okay, there's a character there. It's going to have like a bit of an umbrella. There's a dude there that's kind of smoking a cigarette in front of a building or like something. But at the same time, I never really figured out a story for them. It was never really clear why they were even there to begin with or what was their purpose, And so there was always like a bit of a subject that was missing from the scene. So ultimately, it was really more of a, I guess it was more of a tech demo in the end for like myself just to learn about like V-Ray and just having some fun, like at the same time, I wasn't trying to think too hard about it. I was just trying to just enjoy working on different things. I just wanted to, it was something that was kind of attracting or that was, yeah, just my attention was grabbed by like a detail somewhere and I just wanted to like make it because I was really just pleasing myself. And that's totally fine, but it just never really like I never really had a feeling that I was working towards something very specific. Like I kind of did a bit of Photoshop at some point to try and sort of say like, okay, like this is where the actor is in the scene, and ultimately this is probably what I should have done as a final shot, because I think that there is actually someone in the scene here that is important. There is like a subject to the whole thing, so I probably should have done that.
A focal point?
Yeah, like a focal point, right? Yeah. And I never really did that in the end, but I should have done something like that because ultimately I was working in a way that was very aimless. I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I never really made that choice, because that choice was always scary to me and I never really wanted to constrain my options. I think that's the downside of being creative sometimes is that you can't put aside all of the different like ideas that pop in your head and that always are kind of pulling you in a different direction. Like it's hard to kind of put a stop to that. So ultimately, I didn't I sort of tossed this, even though I really should not have, as the final direction for like the piece. And had I done that, I think I would have continued to work on this with that goal in mind, and so that would have helped me to focus and first finish it, but also kind of probably would have made it so that I would have spent less time because I did wind up wasting a lot of time. I was like spending a lot of time like doing something like this here, just like spending a lot of time like making a nice chair with like these realistic materials that really look really good and like V-Ray, and like I was really enjoying it and I was enjoying learning how to do it. I've always taken quite a lot of pleasure in learning things, and so that kind of is one of the things that always has driven me throughout my career. But I was really enjoying that back then, so I really didn't want to put a break to it. Like I was having quite a lot of fun, and ultimately, I think all of that knowledge really paid off. So the fact that I haven't completed the piece, I think ultimately isn't necessarily a bad thing per se. But it does kind of sometimes tug at my heart a little bit, the fact that I didn't completely complete or bring that project somewhere that I could have maybe shown to the world or like something. So like I spent a lot of time to like work on little assets like this that eventually just made their way into to like the restaurant that's there, and you just barely see just a red square. So it's like, oh, it's like, yeah, that was kind of a bit of a waste of time there. So yeah, like I've learned a lot of lessons too about time management and really kind of controlling my urges sometimes to just that desire, that inner desire to just put my headphones on and just detail the shit out of something for the fun of it. I have to really sort of like put that mentality aside because I spent way too much time on all the details that are there that it means that I never really had time to complete the other things. I should have done like a first pass over like everything, and then I should have detailed afterward the things that don't look good enough yet. Like that's how I should have approached it. But that's not how I did it. I was like always like ultra focused on making everything like super high res every time when it really didn't really matter at all in any sort of way.
Well, it looks really successful to me. I mean, to be honest with you, when you pulled up that last image, I was like, oh, cool, that's her photo reference. And then I was like, oh no, wait, that's the 3D scene. So, that there is lots of success in there, and yeah, I completely hear you about learning. I love learning too, and I think that for me specifically, it's about bypassing. Right? When you're learning, I think it's physically impossible for your brain to be upset or stressed out at the same time. And then once you refine that learning enough, you really fall into these deep states of flow, and that's where the solid gold is for creatives like us.
Yeah, I mean, it's successful because like it taught me quite a lot of things. But there's still a part of me sometimes I'm kind of looking at these and then I'm kind of looking at like all of this now and I'm like, hey, if I started working on this again, I could finish it so quickly. It could be so like quick to just finish it. Why don't you do it? And like I have this kind of nagging voice that's kind of always there in the back of my head. But the problem is that I've given into that voice a few times before, and I know where it leads, and it doesn't lead me somewhere good. I was trying way too hard to be way too technical with a lot of these things. I was like being overly complex with a bunch of stuff because like I was always trying to make things as possibly like as the most possibly accurate as I possibly could. So like for the road, it was important for me to make like a full road and to like I was in ZBrush trying to really get like a lot of the nice bump going on like the road and stuff, but I wasn't very clever with how I was texturing this thing. So it became this huge unwieldy piece of geometry that ultimately didn't really give me great details because I just didn't have proper noise settings in like V-Ray. That's something I could never really truly figure out. How to get the noise down to something that was manageable. Like V-Ray is really notorious for that. It's really hard to like control the noise. And ultimately all that extra geometry, I could have just done that in the bump map or like something. Like I could have just thrown like a normal map on that and it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was important for me to use like let's say the 30 million polygon mesh straight in here to get the most details, And I think that's commendable as an idea, but the problem is that my computer could never really truly support that. So I always wind up having performance problems. And the whole scene is just super heavy. I have a love and hate relationship with this because although I've learned quite a lot of stuff through doing this kind of project, I also kind of wasted a lot of time from time to time. I have a hard time sometimes just resisting just to go back in there and tweak stuff, but I always regret doing so. But at the same time, I can't really delete this either. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm kind of stuck in this endless loop of just tweaking this like every few years, tweaking a little detail somewhere and then casting it aside for the next 5 years afterward.
I dig it. I really like it definitely has a mood and evokes the right kind of emotions for me as a creative. So I think it looks great.
Yeah, I've had projects like that too. Like when I was first getting into 3D modeling and one of my first courses or whatever, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do Kanye's bike. Like this is gonna be so cool. And one of the teacher's assistants just walks over and she's like, you're gonna do that bike. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay. And so freaking like a week or two later, I'm like, oh my god, this thing's not even done. And I like would look back at it from time to time, just like throughout the years, just like, do I want to go back and like finish this? And I'm like, this is basically just a block out right now. Like, this is like one of my first freaking 3D models. I don't even know if this is worth going back to. I'll just leave it as a reminder.
Are you guys usually the kind to look at your old projects in a fond way, or do you look at your old projects and just cringe every time at what you have accomplished back then? Like, where do you guys fall on that spectrum?
I usually cringe. I think part of it too is that like as I've just gotten better at like understanding anatomy, like I'll just see an old character project and I'm like, his face doesn't look like a human face. And I'm like, oh god. So
Oh yeah, that's scary.
yeah.
I definitely do not look fondly on my previous work or even my current work, only because I think I know what I'm doing, and which is I'm leaning into the things that I do really well and the things that I really like, and I shy away from the things that I don't know, and that results in quite a bit of work in progress. I have a collection of work in WIPs that I don't know. For me, it's just a reminder of like, come on, can you just bite the bullet and just figure it out and just get one of these done. So that's kind of usually the reaction I get when I look at my work, past and present.
Usually takes a friend to be like when you're down and out, just like, oh, my work sucks so much, and then they're like, yo, look at this thing that you did like forever ago. Like, you're so much better at it now. And I'm like, you know what? You're goddamn right.
Yeah, we are our own worst critics, right? Isn't that the old, age-old saying? Artists are always...
How much would you guys typically spend on one project? How long would you spend on one project?
For me, I usually pick something that's cool and inspiring, and I don't worry too much about how fleshed out the concept is. But this usually ends up biting me because I spend so much time and iteration in figuring out a design. So once I'm through the modeling and getting into UVs and texturing, I'm already a little burnt out on the project by then. So yeah, but that's something we're gonna work on, right, Laura?
Yeah, for sure. And how long would you say that would take you before you get burned out like that, like in terms of time?
So nights and weekends working on a character after hours, it's usually about 2 months. It's about 8 weeks.
Okay.
Before I just get tired of it and I'm like, okay. Or something happens at work, or I got to work extra, or something always comes up right around that 2 month timeline where it's a very welcomed excuse for me to take a break, and then I just never come back. So that's a habit that I'm looking to break and eliminate moving forward.
Oh, we have to work on that for sure. Because that's not long enough. You need more stamina than that, Like, honestly, most projects I was working like back then, I'd spend like, I don't know, this kind of robot I did at some point because I was playing too much World of Warcraft, and like, this is a true story. I made this robot. The like inspiration for this robot was that I was playing too much World of Warcraft, and because of that, I had a feeling that my computer was becoming a monster to me, and I'm like,
oh,
I seek catharsis. I seek like a creative use for this kind of guilt feeling that I have about spending my time in front of my computer, so that I can spend more time in front of my computer and not feel guilty about it. Damn it! So like I kind of turned that into this kind of robot, and like just to show you guys like how long ago that was. Like the screens are like CRT screens. That was like a ViewSonic screen from like 2000 something. Black, like those things were the shit back then. Those ViewSonic screens. I don't know if you guys had some of these, but man, those things were so good. Those were like the best screens you could get.
Yeah, my dad.
Oh wow.
CRT like that.
yeah, those things are like really crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like, you know, that's kind of one of those things. So like, yeah, so I kind of used that sort of feeling of guilt that I had about spending so much time in front of my computer to sort of make something out of it. So I was kind of exploring just making a kind of like a robot monster and kind of using like monster, or rather like computer pieces, like the tongue is like supposed to be like a mouse, you know, and these sorts of things. And yeah, like all this is like super like juvenile and like stuff like that. But back then, you know, like I was really into this, right? So like I could easily spend like at least like 3 to 4 months easy before something else like kind of grabbed my attention there. And like, I mean, truth be told, I was usually working on more than one thing at a time too. You know, like I wouldn't necessarily focus exclusively on like one thing. I mean, I did that for like a while, but then, or for some time at the start of a project, but then I would eventually always kind of like go between different projects and stuff like that. But so like honestly, like probably like I would probably work on most of these projects for like probably about a year, like give or take. If you consider that it's not the only thing I would be kind of focusing
Oh
on.
wow. Okay.
And like just like trying to learn a lot of things in the meantime, try to really sort of teach myself something new. Yeah, like I was like 18 years old back then, so I was also kind of stupid, you know, but I was also kind of just learning how stuff works. So like this is like something I made, and like
I prefer the term adventurous. You were adventurous.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure, you know, like I was like having so much fun, like discovering like the joys of what 3D was, you know, and like 3D was also sort of ascending, you know, like now it's this big established thing, but yeah, so I guess like that's kind of how things were. So like yeah, like 2 months for me was, you know, like that was nothing, you know. I would see that go by in a flash, but like ultimately, you know, as much as possible, as hard as it is, you know, like you have to find that, you know, you have to find that those projects that really get you to really just get up in the morning, and that's the only thing you want to do is just work on that project because you believe in it so much, you know.
Mhm.
Because like that's what's gonna really help you to really go like all of the way and really like spend the time that you're gonna need to spend on your characters for like so long, that you really get them to the quality that they need to be.
Ah, that sounds great. It makes all the sense in the world. For sure. I think for me, one of the things. Sorry, go ahead, Compton.
No, I just said I agree with that.
Oh, okay, cool. I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but I
Sorry.
think what. Oh no. I ramble. So I think. Oh, I remember now. So Laura, for me, I think it's more of the lack of knowledge on what to do past the modeling stage that I think where a lot of that burnout, a lot of that lack of stamina
Yeah,
comes
that
from, because it's
makes
like
total sense. Yeah.
if I don't know where to go, it doesn't so much seem like a waste of time, but it's just an easy point for me to start looking elsewhere. So that's
Yeah.
why I think this mentorship is going to really help me out, because once I understand where to go, getting there I don't think is so much the problem. It's more about just feeling lost, right? Overcoming that sense of I don't know, lost, being lost. That's going to really help.
Do you think you could find satisfaction and pleasure, especially pleasure? Do you think you could find pleasurable the act of facing something that is completely unknown and that you really don't know how to go about solving it, and then going through the hard work of actually finding a solution to it, whatever that means, and then finding pleasure in the fact that you have solved the problem in the end? Is that something that you usually enjoy, or that you think you could find enjoyable?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where a lot of self-worth and value comes from, is putting in the time and the effort and the hard work to kind of figure things out. And once you do, I mean, that feeling of euphoria is very like just overwhelming. um but yeah, I think I will for sure find joy and satisfaction in that. This little character is interesting. Is there any backstory to this?
Yeah, I've actually explained the backstory on the 80 LV article, actually, so I see you haven't read it. Aha.
No, I won't do that. Yeah. No,
No.
absolutely. I did listen to the interview with Frédérik.
I'm just teasing you there.
Oh no, good job.
But so there's this character, okay, that I saw in 2006 or 2005, and whichever time I was actually working on this, or like wanted to like work on this, and it's really what kind of got me to really delve more deeply into character art, you know, because before I was really exploring quite a lot of stuff, you know, like as you saw, you know, like I've been doing a bit of vehicle stuff, environment stuff, props, you know, I was kind of like sort of I hadn't made up my mind yet as to what it is that I wanted to do as far as like character art special, or rather a just a 3D specialization is concerned. I was kind of just everything was kind of up in the air. I was just enjoying the process of simply learning how things were made, and you know, I wasn't really ready to settle down there. But eventually, like I saw this character on YouTube. So my brother sent me like a video on like YouTube, and you know, YouTube was at its beginning back then and like stuff. So the character was this very obscure character. No one knew anything about it. It was just someone made this character called the Annoying Thing. I don't know if you guys know who this character is.
Doesn't sound
I have not.
Yeah.
But so for those who don't know, essentially that character became a Crazy Frog. It's so incredibly pointless and like stupid, but at the same time, it's so like funny, you know? That just made me giggle so hard back then, you know? That like you could make something so memorable, but also so stupid at the same time. And that yet was still talking really highly to your skills. Like there was something so contrasting and interesting about that I was like, I kind of want to do something like that, you know, like as opposed to have the feeling of like looking at something like this and then being like, oh, I have no idea how they have made that. And the voice inside of me was like saying, wait, no, I know how to do this. Like, I can do this. You know, like I know enough about 3D that sure, like I've never done something like this before, but I really feel as if I have a pretty good grasp of how I could actually do it myself, you know? And that was really like empowering, you know? And that sort of empowerment really kind of draw me to be like, okay, I want to make a stupid, sort of a bit vain, but also kind of funny character like that, you know? And I sort of just had a bit of fun, and that's kind of how I came up with this. And ultimately, that's kind of what brought me eventually to go into decide, okay, this is my specialization. This is the thing I want to do now, you know?
I just remember starting out and freaking like when I was pretty freaking young, and I was like, I just want to make games. And so I downloaded like all these crazy different like engines that were just like free game making engine. And I was like, hell yeah. So I just downloaded like the weirdest stuff on like my dad's computer just to like try it out and see if I could like make games. And I would like write up stuff for like RPGs and junk that like never got anything done. And like I think one of my big moments of like getting into 3D was like I went to a friend's house, and they were all kind of like part of the robotics team when they were kind of talking about like this first person shooter like Call of Duty Zombies-esque game they were making in Unity. And we just hung out at his house, and they were like, hey, you want to play zombies and learn Blender? And I was like, hell yeah, I will. So that was like one of my first introductions to like 3D. I can't even remember what we made. It was some weird like I think it was just some box, and like we just extruded and like did some other stuff with it just to I don't know, show that we could learn a thing or two. And then I like did some like really crappy like drawings on like notebook paper for their like game. I was like, oh yeah, I could concept out a zombie real quick. So but yeah, that was like that was when I was like, I really want to do game stuff. So it was just fun.
Have we all started by like making like sort of very juvenile, like sort of 2D games in our head when we were all younger? Or?
Yeah, I think for me it was Doom, right? Like when Doom first hit the scene on PC. My best friend at the time, his dad had purchased it, and I remember his dad was just on the computer like really late, and I'm just like, hey man, what are you doing? And he showed me the game, and then he let me play it, and then I got really hooked on that. But I never really thought about it as a career or something I could do. It was always comic books for me. And then fast forward to where I actually got my first job in the video game industry. at Ion Storm, working with John Romero and Tom Hall and a couple of other people that had contributed to it and all that.
You have?
That's what kind of.
That's
Sorry?
wild.
You have worked with these people?
Yeah, I'm definitely older.
Dude, that's like royalty or like something. Yeah.
I was at Ion Storm. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. John Romero scared the crap out of me in his like Lamborghini going 140 miles an hour in Dallas. It was ridiculous.
Just listen to this guy. Just in a random channel on like Discord, just casually talking about how he's worked with like John Romero and like all of these like industry like giants and stuff.
Yeah, what the heck, dude?
Oh, I'm
Today
sorry.
I freaking learned.
No, I was just telling Laura earlier that early in my career I got exposed to quite a bit of industry talent. In the comic book industry, and then I guess I should have talked about my time at Ion Storm with Jerry O'Flaherty. I don't know if you're familiar with that art director, but he was the first art director on Gears of War for Epic, and he's doing movie stuff now. Yeah, so I did some concept stuff for the original Deus Ex. I don't know if it ever made it in the game, but Warren Spector's crew in Austin. Yeah, I got brought on to do the comic book adaptations to Dominion, Storm Over Gift 3. So they relocated me out from San Diego to Dallas, put me up, and I was full-time staff working on that. It was only for like 3 months, and then the comic book initiative got shut down. So Jerry O'Flaherty, I actually felt bad, and God, what was Todd Porter? Is that somebody important? But anyways, rather than just let me go because they felt really bad that they, brought me over from San Diego, they loaned me out to the Austin studio to do concept design for, I guess, Deus Ex with Warren, with Warren's crew. Yeah.
It's still rad though. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys you two enjoy it.
Wow.
Because I totally forgot about that. I would have brought it up, Laura, when you asked earlier about my career and that stuff.
Yeah, why don't I just tell you guys the moment that I met Barack Obama? Like, he was my friend, and like,
I should tell you guys about the time I hung out with Ant-Man and Vince Vaughn. That was a really fun time. But no, I'm just name dropping. I'm just name dropping to impress you guys. That's all.
Oh yeah, because you have.
It was maybe about 2 years after he did Clueless, and he was friends with Vince Vaughn, so I got to hang out with those two guys. That was pretty crazy night. And that's when I was going to school in LA. So I spent a couple years out there and got sucked into that LA lifestyle and that LA scene, and had to move back home to San Diego because I wasn't getting anything done and I was paying too much money for school. So that's when I went to the Art Institute and got my degree in game art and design. Yeah, if you're not a movie star, you should not party with movie stars because it's expensive.
You mean they don't pay for the whole party?
No, they usually do. Actually, Paul picked up the tab that night for all of us, but it was pretty expensive when they weren't buying drinks.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, on that, I will call it for tonight. That was a pretty good chat.
Yeah. I'm gonna hop off as well.
I should too. It's pretty freaking late.